Good morning, everybody. Today is a 20th day in the month of July 2022. My name is Heritage Adisa, Markets Analyst at HFM Nigeria. And as always, we check through the markets, find out what's going on, what the big stories are, how they're affecting asset prices, and how we can take advantage of them if they provide opportunities. But please remember that this is just a communication material and nothing in this communication contains or should be considered as investment advice or investment recommendation. Users acknowledge that investment in FX and CFD products is characterized by a certain degree of uncertainty, and that any investment of this nature involves a high level of risk for which users are solely responsible and liable. Now, what we have this morning, yes, we could say the fears in markets has eased a bit, but if it continued on from yesterday. Yesterday we had solid gains in equity space. For example, US 500 made about 3%, gain yesterday, right? So that was good. We had a positive flow, but so far today we have seen more of a slower start. Yes, the equities still keep, excuse me, equities still hold on to the gains from yesterday, yes. But in terms of the flows we're seeing right now so far today, there's a lot of disjointed flow here and there. And then we need to also be cautious, with that. And now let's quickly dive into it. Now, I'd written this down earlier. I said fears of energy crisis in Europe eases, right? As Nord Stream pipeline is set to come back online as scheduled. Now, markets eventually had a good day yesterday. Yesterday we started mostly flat, but then eventually we had a good day yesterday with equities broadly pushing higher in line with a better risk sentiment, right? US 500 ended up the day up about 3%. Now, so far today, though, the upbeat mood that we're seeing, yes, it remains intact in equities. They hold on to the gains from yesterday just on the back of that Nord Stream, pipeline. Nord Stream pipeline, we mentioned over the last couple of sessions, is a major, source of gas from, Russia down to the heart of Germany, right? It's a major one, and it was closed down for about 10 days, 10 days ending tomorrow, right, for a yearly regular maintenance, right? But it was talked that because of the sanctions here and there, Russia may not, put the pipeline back online. And that was a major source of fear for markets, as, that would clearly throw Europe generally into an energy crisis with supply mostly shorting heavily. But we had comments from even President Putin, sources here and there also saying that it's likely, it's very likely to come back online, right, by Thursday. And that eased market worries, eased market fears. And that's why we're seeing equities to keep on to those gains. And then you look at oil prices, they're down as well, 1.5% generally on both sides, with higher supply or thoughts of higher supply clearly in that weighs on price. Now, having said that, you look at the commodity space though, they yet to agree with equities, right? Commodities are generally lower, or copper that is not lower for the day amongst the commodities is still seeing a lot of ups and downs as well in the moves. So there is that. You look at bond yields as well, mostly lower as well today, also not, favoring a better environment in the market. So there's that. But then you look at measures of volatility and they're down, right? Fear greed index is up about at 6% and 36 level, right, so far today. So that just points us to a more disjointed flow, more back and forth flow here and there, in asset classes. Now, the euro has been up for the week generally was solid yesterday as well. Well, there's been talk that ECB may hike rates by 50 basis points in their meeting tomorrow. Apart from that, even the lesser fears for energy crisis in Europe on the back of the Nord Stream pipeline coming back online has also been a positive factor for the euro so far this week. But that's on one side. For today's session, AED and NZD mostly the majors. And then on the other hand, you have CAD, oil prices lower, so CAD, and then you have the dollar and CHF at the bottom of the majors. But I said, bear in mind that the small intraday gains in equities, choppy moves in major FX, and then even lower bond yields and lower commodities produces a very fragile market sentiment. And when you have a fragile market sentiment, nothing says that you should not be more patient, wait it out, and then be more cautious about taking new short-term positions, right? Having said that, I look to peer some strengths and weaknesses, and then the calendar is basically Canadian CPI on the wires. Now, quickly looking across board, this is what I'm saying. Yesterday we had that solid gain yesterday, right? Up about 3%. I mean, in yesterday's session, right? That's the US 500, despite starting the day mostly flat, right? Now, in today's session as well, we're starting mostly flat, messy, tiny. Net change so far today just like 0.01%, right? But it doesn't mean that we'll end the day like this. But it just says that right now, there's really not so much conviction as to where things are headed because of the overall disjointed flows we have in markets. And then we have central bank meetings tomorrow, the Bank of Japan, as well as the ECB, which is also an interesting one, being considering the fact that there's always talk for, higher hikes. So there's that to watch out for. But apart from that, there's really not been, there might be a slowdown in markets, slowdown in expectations for movement until we get that data, the central bank meeting. And then we have CPI later today, which could provide some sparks. But in the meantime, things are really just all over the place. And then you have a bulk of the equity space. Now, the Nikkei is doing well today, but the bulk of the US equity space flat as well, flat. You look at the FTSE as well, basically flat as well. FRA 40 flat as well. Most of them showing that overall flat moves, not really continuing the momentum from yesterday, right? Although keeping on to the gains from yesterday's session. The dollar index is also flat today, basically unchanged. Look at the VIX, also flat today after a massive gap to the upside, basically unchanged. So, I mean, we're just seeing a lot of, messy, flat, not really going anywhere action in the market, which is a bit, tricky for us. Oil prices that are lower today as well is still well within yesterday's ranges and then still circling around this key $100 per barrel level, right? That we failed to just let go of completely over the entire week that we've had, right? Copper that we talked about that is a bit up into the session in the commodity space. Yes, pulled back to yesterday's highs and has kept higher, but generally we're still capped by the gains for the week, the highs for the week, and still well within, the net moves, for example, for today is not really been so much as well, right? So there's that to keep at the back of our mind as well. All right, crossing over to the FX space. You may want to look at the currency pairs like, strength in the New Zealand dollar, right? Or the AUD against something like the CAD or the USD or the CHF. Now let's look at that. All right, this is AUD, right? One of the strongest currencies today versus USD, one of the weakest currencies today. And then net change level is like 0.18%. That's really small, right? We haven't really been able to do so much here, right? You look at where's it NZD USD, right? Yes, net, NZD being the strongest, USD one of the weakest currencies, but net change about 0.39% is still not that large. We've gone up as well into this session, right? Pushed higher about how many pips now into the session already? We've pushed higher about 50 pips. We've pulled back, down to about 20 pips back to the highs of yesterday. It could continue higher, but in terms of convictions for the moves that we're seeing, it's a bit tricky and not really highly convincing. And then you want to look at, let's look at the other ones. Okay, Euro still keeping the gains for the week, mostly flat for today, across board. Really see a lot of chop, and they're not really doing so much on the Euro side. But there's one more pair I'm looking out for. Let's look at NZD versus, let's say, CAD or CHF, just quickly. NZD, let's look at that quickly. This was a quick insight into what we're seeing right now. All right, now this is NZD versus CAD. Yes, strong for the day. It's pushed higher heavily, but now we've pulled back heavily, down about 0.33%. Now, it doesn't mean that the CAD will continue higher, even though the technicals are not looking so good at the levels where you're at right now. But even with that, the convictions for the moves that we're seeing right now is really low and it's a bit messy. Right? You look at, there's one more to look at, NZD-CHF, right? Yes, now this is the one I had in terms of a picture, and looking best really out of everything. Now, NZD-CHF has pushed higher today, up like over 0.5%. Strong today, NZD being strong, CHF being weak. Although, the catalyst that we're seeing right now, the sentiment, equities are not really helping, commodities are not really helping. So convictions and confidence levels here are really low. But at least technically, it looks good. We've broken above yesterday's high as well as Monday's high. Even Asia, basically Asian high, and then we're looking to pull back. This could be interesting in terms of looking for further upside. But like I said, convictions wise is really, really, really low. And then you want to look at the calendar as well in the day ahead. It's mostly Canadian CPI expected on the wires today. But apart from that, it's really, really light one for the most of the day. Focus will continue to remain on central banks, continue to remain on what the ECB is expected to do tomorrow in terms of their hikes, energy prices in Europe, dollar strength, really. All of those things are things that the market will continue to be focused on. But for now, with not so much heavy catalyst, strong convictions rather, it's a lot better for me to be more patient and then wait out until I get something more concrete to work with. So that's it for now. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask, and we'll always do our best, to help. Thank you, and do enjoy the rest of your trading session. Bye for now.